What's up, everybody? This is not nothing shocking at all. Not one fucking bit. CNN, it's actually got the fucking stones to defend the murder on the train that killed that Irina Zikrin girl. Which is nothing new anyway about CNN, NBC, News 19, News 10. They like seeing people get killed because they can make it more money off of it. Try to get a race going on between the blacks and the whites. Which, to be honest, if it did become a war between blacks and whites, it's gonna be a heavy casualty on the black side because there's a lot of whites are getting tired of what's going on in the news in the black community. Raise your hands. You guys seen what's going on in the news going with the black community, all this BS getting out of hand. They didn't been the white people doing that. They'd be in jail already. I know somebody's gonna make this about race, what I'm saying, but fuck it. You wanna use race car? Fine, fuck it. Use the race car. I'm gonna still sleep peacefully. Still make my money. Still might do my videos. So, there you go. To the video, shall we?
If you don't believe that we are in a fight today, you're sleeping under a rock. If you get hit and you lay down and you cry and you fold up in the corner, definitely you will not win the fight. We show up to win. Our culture needs a lot of you young people in here to step up and stand out. There is nothing or no principality, power, division, devil can stop us when we're united. They can only get you when you're divided. When I see the American flag, I see us progressing to something that can be awesome and great. And if you don't plan on winning big, you might as well go home today. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to another Officer Tatum show. We got a lot to talk about. I want to start with Ben Shapiro. Now, I know in the past, obviously, I always have to preface this because Candace is my best friend, and I don't want her to think I'm over here simping for Ben Shapiro. However, when the brother right, all right? Thank God that he went on the Breakfast Club and set the record straight on a myriad of different things. And it's kind of interesting that Charlemagne the fraud, and I call him the fraud because, man, quit calling yourself something that you ain't, all right? And then he's always saying things that I think is ignorant, bruh. I think it's ignorant. But let's get to the clip real quick because he goes in initially and talks about Israel, Gaza, and y'all know how I feel about it. But to me, I feel like Ben Shapiro put this in perspective. Roll the clip.
Interesting. I want to go back to your book in a second, but I'm glad you said that because you don't think what's happening in Gaza is genocide.
Correct.
Okay. But the world's leading association of genocide scholars have declared that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza based off the pure definition of
Well, it's not actually, if you read their actual study, it's not based on the quote-unquote pure definition of genocide. They don't actually even define genocide in the document. And they basically went out to their membership, but they didn't go out to the entire membership. They went out to generic membership. It is very easy to join the International Association of Genocide Scholars. In fact, there were several people yesterday who just signed up and were immediately admitted, even though they have no actual background in genocide. The question is not whether some sort of coterie of people who call themselves experts in an issue are quote-unquote experts on the issue. The question is whether the definition is met. The definition of genocide is not met in Gaza by any stretch of the imagination, and you can cite to me, a group that I hadn't heard of until 2 seconds ago, and nobody had heard of until 2 seconds ago, that voted in a particular way. That doesn't make a difference definitionally.
What is a genocide?
A genocide is the attempt to forcibly destroy an entire population, which is not what has happened.
So it's not the attacks on like personal facilities needed for like survival, like healthcare, educational institutions.
Well, again, Israel has shipped in more humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip than literally any army to in a population that supports the enemy in literally all of human history. They've been shipping in about 4,400 calories per day per person into the Gaza Strip in the middle of a war in which the enemy is holding actual Israeli hostages underground who, as we've seen from some of the pictures, are actually starving. Again, none of this is to claim that the war is pretty or meticulous or anodyne, because it isn't. It's really, really, really ugly. But over the course of this war, about 3% of the Gazan population has been killed or wounded. If you're going to look at a actual genocide, obviously the prototypical case being the Holocaust, you're looking at 50% of the entire Jewish population in Europe destroyed. If you're looking at other attempted genocides, say the genocide in Rwanda, you're talking about extraordinarily high percentages of the population that are wiped out. You certainly are not seeing procedures that require 4 layers of actual legal authority in order to do a drone strike. And I've actually seen the tape of them doing this in Israel. They actually, if they spot from the air a terrorist who's going into a particular civilian area, you have to take like a full minute where the pilot on the drone calls up the legal authority, who then calls up the higher legal authority to get clearance for the actual drone strike, and they will call off the drone strike if they believe that the military target is too costly in terms of civilian casualties. And Hamas knows this, which is why they're hiding among civilians. In fact, the best proof that this is not, in fact, a purposeful genocide is the fact that Hamas is hiding behind civilians. The reason you hide behind civilians is because you know your enemy doesn't want to kill civilians. Right? If you believe that your enemy doesn't care about killing civilians, you wouldn't hide among civilians. That wouldn't be a defense mechanism.
Do you think Israel needs a regime change?
Israel's a democracy. They've had, I think, 5 elections in the last 4 years. There probably will be election again in March. I do not think that Israel would be conducting this war very differently if there were somebody else in power. And I actually know every Israeli prime minister for the last 10 years, including the ones who are on the opposite side. People like Yair Lapid, who's on the opposite side, or Naftali Bennett, who's on the opposite side.
Do y'all like the new way I do it? I don't know, because I swear I see people in the comment like, play the clip, Brandon, quit talking. So I try to play the whole clip for you before I give my commentary. But I got a lot to say about that, and I got a couple more clips I want to play of Ben Shapiro literally cooking on the Breakfast Club. Ain't that funny? They actually go together, cooking on the Breakfast Club. Okay, all right. Anyway, but the sanity that I hear from Ben Shapiro is enlightening, or not enlightening, but it's encouraging, because it's pure fact-based information.
He's finally waking up.
That's what it is. No. Does it qualify as a genocide according to the actual definition of a genocide? No. This group of people, and everybody in America has been using this group of scholars, and then to come to find out that it's not even a real thing. Like, you don't have to be a legitimate scholar to be a part of this. And then the people were making posts, and they were monkeys and all kind of stuff, and they were considered a scholar on this little forum where people got a chance to vote if this is a genocide. What the fake news spread so much faster than real information. Yeah. And also, the funny thing is, and I don't know why most people aren't getting, their brains are rotting out of their head. Why is Hamas hiding behind their citizens? Why do they go down in tunnels? Because the defense mechanism of this is that the Israeli government is not going to try to kill all these people to get to Hamas. They're going to be measured in their approach, therefore giving them the leeway to live for 2 years. How many people you think in Hamas? If it was Hamas versus the IDF, Hamas be dead in 30 seconds. One boom, boom, everybody dead. But they hide behind their citizens, hoping that Israel don't go full-fledged, and they haven't. I could go on for 100 years about this. Let's talk about government charity Ben Shapiro was asked about this also on the Breakfast Club, and this is what he had to say. Wrote a clip.
I think that one of the things that I've also talked about is that government, and this is where you get into the law of unintended consequence. When government intervenes in a lot of these ways, it tends to supplant some of the actual organic institutions that used to do this sort of thing. So I'm a big advocate
Those
of...
places still exist. I just think that sometimes they lack funding. Like, there's every problem that we're talking about, I promise you there's an organization in every single community that, caters to that. But they just lack funding in it.
Well, I think that's true. I also think that the number one institution that used to help solve these problems was church. And as levels of church going go down, that is a major problem. Because the nice thing about a church is that when a church or a synagogue or any other religious institution gives charity, then there's also skin in the game for the person who's receiving the charity. Right? You actually have to buy into the system in order to receive the charity to a certain extent, because you're a member of the community. You also know the person who you're receiving the money from. That person is a person you sit next to in the pews. And so government can't really be a substitute for that, just in terms of like cutting a check.
And I don't know how people don't understand that. That's the most basic, fundamental reality is the church should be the number one proponent of philanthropic activity. It shouldn't be the government. The government don't know what they're doing. The government has never been efficient in it. And to be honest, allow people to divert their taxes and giving the government all this bullcrap money versus giving it to an institution that's in the community. Giving it to a church that's active in the community. The members that are receiving the funding actually go to the church versus a government program where people are not vested in. I don't know how people get this confused. It's very simple to me. Like, it makes more sense for churches and religious organizations and nonprofits that are actually doing the work to be able to receive the money, not the government. What has the government done for homelessness in California? The government takes your money and subsidize fake organizations. They should let you take your money and give to organizations that are proven to make a difference. Ben Shapiro also go on and talk about the pro-life issue. Wrote a clip.
I'm a pro-choice person, but I do wonder how come pro-life people aren't anti?
Well, I mean, I think everybody is anti-war. I think the question is the definition of when war is appropriate. I don't know, like who's running around going like, war is awesome. Yes, more war, let's do it. And that's a better conversation than the sort of assumption by, I think, people who are not pro-life, that pro-life is just about controlling the woman's body. No, it isn't, okay? It really is not. Like, for pro-lifers, it has literally nothing to do with the woman's body. It has to do with the side of the woman and how you define that. You know,
it's really fucking amazing that MSN,
well, there are downstream effects of definitions, of course, right? I mean, if I define
MSN, News 19, CNN, all of them ain't covering what's going on, which is not surprising, to be honest, because they enjoy covering what they want to cover, because it makes it more exciting for them to make more profit off what's going on.
For literally any legal term. It's true for any word that we use in life. As you expand the definition,
if you look at it, they play it in a certain way.
I think it's an easy way out. Basically say, well, I have a definition of life, but and it gets into very dicey territory.
It makes you wonder what is going on in the world. To be honest, the world is going to hell in a handbasket.
Looking at other people and saying, well,
and people don't really see because they don't really give two fucks.
To take the obvious, most controversial example,
that's just how they are.
A huge percentage of American history, there's a wide variety of people in America who believe black people were not fully human and therefore even enslaved. Right, correct. And so so was that a subjective question? That was not a subjective question. Black people are fully human, just as human as white people, equal, the same. Right?
Get back to where here goes. Ben Shapiro is really cooking the hell out of his cooks, really.
I think that slavery is personally wrong, but it's really up to every person to define for themselves whether a black person is fully human or not fully human. Be like, what the? Why?
Just because I think, if I'm making, so if you're a slave master, right, and you say, I believe slavery is right because black people aren't human, like, that's a decision that you're making that is based on things like, what the slaves can do for you and your property. Like, the benefit of what slavery will do for that slave master is so different than if a woman has to have a baby because she was raped and how that will affect her life. Like that, I think you have a decision that you can make a lot easier.
It's almost like you force a woman twice, right? Because
Yeah,
she
like,
says
do I
no,
become a slave
they
master or not
force
versus
sex
do
on
I
her,
have a
so
baby that I
she
said,
has this
it's a
baby and now she's
different-
forced to
Well,
have
again,
a
try
child.
and
Jewish analogy.
Sure. So sure. So if there was an entire population in Europe that was considered subhuman by the Nazis and they were exterminated, if you said, I am personally against the extermination of the Jews, but I understand why Germans could think that Jews are subhuman. And so, it really is up to every individual to determine whether a Jew is human or not fully human and can be put in the back of a van and gassed. We'd be like, what in the world? What in the
You're
world?
saying there should be no pro-choice.
Yeah, so the definitions are not a matter of choice. Definitions are a matter of actual objective fact. Otherwise, we can't even have a conversation. Because if words have meanings, then we all have to agree on at least that, right? That much we have to agree on is the meaning of the words. And when it comes to, sort of the slave master analogy, the point that I'm making here is not about the personal experience of the slave master. In fact, I'm saying it's completely irrelevant. What I'm saying is that the reason that slavery was wrong is because black people are fully independent human beings who require the protection of the law in the same way as everyone else. And if you're a pro-lifer, you believe that's also true of the unborn.
She really tried and she tried. And I love the conversation. We should be having this conversation. We should be exploring these possibilities in instances. But the thing is that I think it's very clear what Ben Shapiro said, and I think it's fair, is that we need to have a definition. Life starts at conception, not your perception. Boom, that's the definition. People act like women, like they only bring up rape. This is the thing that I feel like is disingenuous and weaponized to a certain degree, just like the war in Gaza. It's been killing innocent babies. It's like they're weaponizing the rape scenario. 98 or 99% of all abortions are elected abortions that have nothing to do with rape. If somebody wants to make the argument that we can make an exception for rape, that means that we eliminate 98% of all abortions in America. That's a good start for me. I think we should eliminate all of them, but if we can start there, that's a good start. Life starts at conception. And for the 99% scenarios, if you don't want to have children, then keep the legs closed. Don't be hiking it up on the weekend for them football players. Y'all want to keep it real. Don't be hiking it up for a dude you met at the club one night. Don't be hiking it up for your boyfriend and don't put a ring on it. You know how cringy it is for you to run around talking about this my boyfriend, my boyfriend, my boyfriend? That he don't count unless he's your husband. And don't be hiking it up just for y'all to break up. And now you got to hike it up for the next man and then hike it up for 5 or 6 other dudes before you actually get a ring on it. If you're not ready for the commitment, or you're not ready, somebody ain't willing to commit, you ain't willing to have a baby, quit doing what it takes to have a baby. That's like me saying I don't want to go to jail, but I want to keep committing crimes. Eventually, I'm going to go to jail. Eventually, I'm going to get caught. If you don't want no baby, quit bumping and grinding and pumping and sweating, because eventually you're going to get pregnant. Last one, reparations, which is the big dog in the room, wrote a clip.
I think that on a sort of public policy level, reparative policies don't tend to be nearly as effective as people want them to be, historically speaking.
They work for Jewish people.
In what way?
Jewish people that receive reparations.
You mean Holocaust reparations, for example, from Germany? So I think that first of all, that there was like a gigantic fight actually in Israel over whether Holocaust survivors should accept reparations from Germany. Because the idea was that it's allowing them to expiate their sins of the past, and they shouldn't be allowed to expiate those sins, and it's allowing them to sort of buy off the history for 50 grand or whatever it is. But that is not the reason why Israel has become successful economically. Like just on a success level, the reality is that cutting people checks rarely makes them more successful from the government. What usually makes people more successful is a determined attempt to become the things that the meritocracy demands of you. Right, so there were no long scale.
I think the U.S. foreign assistance for Israel has helped financially.
Well, I mean, the U.S. foreign assistance for Israel actually is a bargain for the United States because
tell
Israel
them,
doesn't need
tell
to-
them, Ben.
I've said this before.
Well,
Israel
give it to us.
I mean, that's fine.
Black community would gladly take
That's in it. That's
I
in
can't
it.
speak for it.
It's like $3 billion a year. We should point out at this point that we spend, I think, $6 billion a year on our military bases in Japan, $5 billion a year on our military bases in Germany. We spend an awful lot of money. That helps an awful lot of other countries. Israel has to spend all of that money, by the way, in the United States on military product. So all of the money that we send to it, we actually don't send money to Israel. We send military product to Israel that is made in the United States. And so it actually is a subsidy to the American defense industry. And there is a deal with Israel where Israel does intelligence sharing and also develops its own tech and can't disseminate it to the world. So for example, the helmets that our F-35 pilots use, those are Israeli developed helmets, like that we can see over the horizon, for example. That's because Israel developed technological add-ons. So the idea that this is sort of like a zero sum, the money goes out, we get nothing back, that's actually not true.
And to add to that, and just a little bit of research that I did, which I think that's why people who talk about this topic, and we shouldn't give Israel money, and it's an agreement that they spend the money with us. We give them $3.8 billion, and 75% of that has been spent in America. Now, he said all of it. I haven't verified it. What I've seen is that 75% of the money that we have spent over the last 5 or so years, or in any capacity of the agreement, which was like $17 billion that we've spent so far, and $13 billion have been spent back into America. And that's a part of the agreement. They have to get their equipment and all the military necessities. They have to get it from the United States of America. That's the agreement. Literally, we signed a deal that we give you money to buy from us. Come on, bro. And to the reparations claim, the reparations issue, is that Ben Shapiro is correct. And black people, this I tell you, this what tells you how silly most black people are that believe in reparations. Mm-hmm. If you were smart, you would realize that monetary gift is not going to create wealth. It's just going to create wealth in the pockets of people who have product to sell you. Because I put my life on it. You give 70% of black people some money, and it's because this is what black people do culturally. Give 70% of black people $50,000. The rich will get richer. They go into Louis Vuitton. They go into the car lot. They're going to buy high-end stuff. You can look at any research that has been done. Black people spend more money on high-end apparel, high-end vehicles than anybody else in the same price bracket. It's a cultural thing. They're going to, like, billionaires who are in industries like fashion and all this, they would love for black people to get reparations because they are going to be richer. That's free money for people to spend in their establishment. Historically, black people don't do a good job at circulating money within the community. So all of the money goes out anyway. What would be a solution to the reparations argument would be to give opportunity, which means that instead of giving somebody money, you improve the school system. You get programs to encourage men to be with their family or give women the resources that they need to properly take care of their children. We have an overhaul of this idea of hating the white man or twerking and all this ghetto stuff that prevents black people from being successful, and help people politically be astute or open-minded to where we're not politically subjugated to only one side, which means that they don't have to buy a vote anymore and the other side don't care if we vote for us or not. Those intangible things are things that black people need to understand in order to be successful outside of financial gifting. And if you look at the debt of the country, we couldn't afford to give black people reparations anyway. Because, I mean, I was doing the numbers. Like, to give every black person like $100,000, which will do nothing for black people. I mean, $100,000 over the course of your life, and you got to give it to people who are actually descendants of slaves. Now, what if you mixed? One side of your family was a descendant, the other side was a slave owner. What do you do with that person? A mixed person that don't have a direct descendantship, I don't know if that's even a word, from the continent of Africa, they don't get a reparation anyway. So be honest, out of 40 million black people in America, if they gave everybody, including kids and elderly, the money, a lot of black people wouldn't even get it because they're not direct descendants from Africa anyway, or descendants from the slave trade anyway. They can't even draw back to whether or not their family was a part of the slave trade. So I can go down a list of that, but I think Ben Shapiro did an incredible job on the Breakfast Club, and the Breakfast Club need to have more real people on there, right? It's funny that they never invited me on there, which I don't really need. My platform isn't bigger than the Breakfast Club, but if they did, I get on there and cook. I will get on there and cook, and everybody know it. All right, let's get to the next topic real quick, the media bashing MAGA for politicizing the stabbing. So the video has been released of the actual stabbing of the young lady on the train, uncensored. We have that video, but we have blurred out the video because out of just the sheer respect for the violence that happened to this young lady. But I think people did not see what actually happened because it freezes like this. So we have the video viewer discretion is advised. If you got a weak stomach or you don't want to see the video, then just skip past this point. We'll create a chapter so you can just skip the video if you don't want to see it. But if you want to see it, we'll show it to you. The reason that I want to show it to you is because I want you to see the totality of what happened. I want you to see what happened to the young lady, how quick it happened, and the subsequent actions after it happened, meaning that nobody even looked in her direction to help her. And there is reasons why. Let's keep it real. Do you want to be like Daniel Penny? And I think it happened so fast, as you'll see in the video, that I don't think people knew she got stabbed. I think people just thought he hit her a couple times and walked away. So without further ado, roll the clip. So as you can see, nobody even helped her. The guy just did this for no reason. But the lunatics on social media, the CNNs and the Van Joneses of the world, like how do you not look at that? I'm gonna play a bunch of clips of it, of this other stuff. How do you not look at this and say, there is an issue with black violence, right? I mean, can we, let's talk about the elephant in the room. There is an issue. Because you can't find many videos of white people cutting up like you see black people. Not that black people are the only ones, but show me a video of a white man doing a black woman like this. Okay, that's what I thought. So let's listen to Van Jones on CNN make himself look like a complete fool. Roll the clip.
Unfortunately, we don't have services that they used to have for mentally ill people in terms of dealing with them. And I think the problem here is, I'm guessing the Trump administration was looking for an example. This video was quite disturbing. You have the combination of social media at the same time blowing it up, and so it creates sort of the perfect storm to point to something. Just like when Dukakis, when he was running for president, Lee Otler took advantage of that one incident that was terrible, that was very troubling for voters once they called attention to it.
So certain people have been looking for an opportunity to find a case like this, to make a point like this. I want to play, this is Charlie Kirk, why he says this hasn't gotten a lot of attention.
A white Ukrainian refugee was murdered just because she was white. Everybody knows that, obviously. If a random white person simply walked up to and stabbed a nice, law-abiding black person for no reason, it would be an apocalyptically huge national story used to impose national sweeping political changes on the whole country. Instead, Megan Basham, no one seems to care when a white woman gets stabbed to the death.
Wow. He said white a lot.
Well, we are talking about it here, so I guess I don't think that's fair. Look, being in the system, because I have represented people who are mentally ill, and here's the balance. The balance is taking away people's freedom versus evaluating their mental illness. In New York City, there are a lot of programs for people who are mentally ill, but they have to want to be there.
And
it's about
hold on a second. I tried not to interject, but I had to. Real quick. It won't take long. Charlie Kirk is 1,000% right. If you dummies, this happened weeks ago. Nobody covered it. A woman stabbed to death on a train happened weeks ago. Nobody said anything. There was no FOIA request. There was no demand for justice. There was none of that. What are y'all talking about? Y'all talking about this weeks later after the video goes viral. You weren't covering it. Daniel Penny tried to prevent a nut from doing this, and y'all covered it wall to wall. Tried to put the boy in prison for life.
You are mentally ill. You have a hard time knowing that you are mentally ill. But also, I mean, people like Charlie Kirk, Van, they've been looking for opportunities to make this some sort of like reciprocal George Floyd situation, and that's the part that I think he's almost giving away the game, and it's sad to see a lot of people going along with it.
Let me just say a couple of things. One is, what happened to that young woman was horrible, and it's everybody's nightmare. If you're in any public space, a subway, whatever, that something bad's going to happen to you or somebody you care about. So it does strike a chord. We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering. It's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. Where is the George Floyd Policing Act? It didn't pass. Even when you had a white police officer murder a black man on live television, the whole world saw, there were no sweeping changes. In fact, not one law was passed at the federal level. So I think that's an important thing to point out. The other thing is, you mentioned the thing about cashless bail. I think this is a big challenge that we have. Would you have felt better if there had been cash bail and the mom had come and put down $1,000 to let him out? It's not about cashless bail or no cashless bail. It's about the fact that we don't know how to deal with people who are hurting in the way this man was hurting. Hurt people. What happened was horrible, but it becomes an opportunity for people to jump on bandwagons. And then someone like Charlie Kirk, he should be ashamed of himself. No one mentioned the word race, white, black, or anything except him. What people mention is the horror of what happened to this young woman.
Van Jones, shut the. I want to just cuss. I want to cuss. How stupid and disingenuous is this conversation? Charlie Kirk brought up race. George Floyd got killed by a police officer, and immediately it was because he was black. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Where did they see that this happened because the man was black? What's his name was nice to George Floyd. He put him in the back of the car. He was treating him with dignity and respect. Then it went south. So, but we jumped to the conclusion that George Floyd lost his life only because he was black and the cop was white, with no evidence or information pertaining to that whatsoever. But you get a black man, why he didn't stab somebody else? A white woman, and he stabs her in the neck. If you can draw the conclusion that the black men are getting killed because they black, you can draw the conclusion that she got killed because she white. Why you can't draw the conclusion? Sweeping legislation. They had Black Lives Matter movement. The president spoke on it. Was all kind of stuff going on. They tried to pass legislation. But hey, dummy, it's already against the law to violate people's constitutional rights. Already against the law to violate people's civil rights. It's already against the law to murder somebody. So what legislation are you going to pass, stupid, when it's already against the law? And he went to prison. He's still in there. What are we talking about? All right. I think Gutfield, and why are white people are the ones that seem to have, think about the show CNN, 2 black people dumb, the one white lady dumb. The percentage of black people that's dumb on this issue is a higher percentage than white people. Why? And then you got Gutfeld and them talking about it. And why do they make more sense? Why? Play the clip.
I'm tired also of the term mental illness being used as a cover for criminality. When a thug targets a woman, that is not insane. He knows she's weaker. When he comes from behind with a knife, that's not insane.
Pause.
He minimizes.
But I want y'all to pay attention to this real quick. This goes back to what Van Jones said. Put the clip on the screen so the people can see it. There is a black person behind him, a black person next to him, a black person next to that person, and the only person he stabbed was this white woman. And you telling me that he didn't stab her because she white? Every person around him is black except her, and he killed her because she white, because he's crazy and he's a racist, and this is what racist black people do. Play the clip.
Arm on him. When the thug flees, that's sane because he knows if he stays, he'll be arrested. So what would be insane would be if he were to face off against a man without a weapon, somebody like a Tyrus. That would be insane. You go, okay, that's crazy. But almost all of these people that do this stuff, they go after women. That is not insane. That's self-preservation. This is not insanity. It's an evil mind. And it's an evil mind that is somehow excused in a culture that weaponizes victim status. In this case, mental illness. And what is it about a society that contributes to this? And I'd say this based on my own personal evidence of being on city streets every single day in New York, that when a homeless person is shouting at people, he's not shouting, "I really made a mess of my life. Boy, I really screwed up." No, his aggression is purely blaming other things and other people. He blames the world, he blames people, he blames you. So we're living in a progressive ideological nightmare where the worst in society is empowered by a sense of victimhood. So when this happens, they will still get people like Brian Stelter that says, "Oh, be careful of the racism," or other people saying, "You know what? We really need to be concerned about our services to the mentally ill," which may or may not be true, but he's not mentally ill. He needs to be executed. Lastly, I asked Grok for a conservative count of the number of times the George Floyd video was played, looking at tweets and social media, Instagram, News Network. It came to a conservative number of 975 million times. That is not counting retweets. So that is a snapshot of this liberal disease, the hierarchy of problems. The media and politicians, people like Stelter, implore you not to cover one problem, but to amplify another one to a destructive degree that leads to riots, leads to dozens of deaths. But do not cover this other thing because that is racist. And that is not as important. In the hierarchy of problems, we decide what you cover.
Objectively speaking, does that not make sense? Is that not a reality? I don't understand how people don't get this. Quit talking about what this man's mental illness was when that girl died. She got murdered. I don't give a what he was going through. He can go through that in prison. He got arrested he went to jail 14 times.
Yeah.
Like, he can get mental health help in prison. How is he free? It's a ticking time bomb, man. Everybody know it. Every cop that arrested that guy know. He out again. That dude's a ticking time bomb, dude. He's hallucinating. We didn't arrest him, beat up his sister. In 2025, I think he beat his sister up. Well, he's being evaluated, but never got the full test of being schizophrenic. But bro, schizophrenia, killing white people is this schizophrenia? Mm-hmm. He didn't stab anybody else on the train. Little white girl right in front of him, stabbed her, killed her, lost her life. Put that dog in jail. If that was my sister, I would be so upset and tears would be running down my eyes, and the pain that I would feel watching my sister out and dies would be so infuriating.
Don't even put him in jail. Get some rope and hang his damn ass. Put that dog down. Cause, be honest, he's been in jail multiple times already. He's been in jail from 2011 all the way up to now. And still, justice had not been done. Why is that? Oh, I'm black and the cops wanted to attack me. Because he played the fucking race card. That was my sister. And I found out that piece of shit done that. I'll find him everywhere in my power to get in that place where he's at and kill him. Because he's going to get out again. Maybe 6 months from now, maybe 2 years from now, he'll get out. They don't want no mental person in that hospital. They don't want no mental person in jail. They're afraid he might get killed. Or they might get advantage taken to him. He was not schizophrenic. He was not crazy. He saw a white girl. He shot his chance and he killed her. Because he knows the justice system is going to lay him out again. And he just played like the innocent black guys attacked by the white people. And the Black Lives Matters and all these dumbasses will hold up money to get him out. That's all it is. Good night.